Phones today can do some pretty amazing things. The devices themselves are pretty cool, but it's the apps on them that make them truly magical. Anyone who has a smartphone today can get access to hundreds of thousands of apps and download them at the touch of a button.
The big part is that smartphones have become a lot more powerful over time. The way that developers develop applications has also become a lot easier over time.
You no longer need to be an expert in computer science or have a huge team of programmers. Some of the top games released have been written by a single programmer in a week.
So one of the things that makes this a lot easier for app developers today is there's a lot of ready-to-use code out there that can do really powerful things for you.
So let's take that example of when you download an app. You're just clicking a button and it starts downloading. The details aren't important there, you just use it. So in programming, we call these ready-to-use pieces of code APIs.
API stands for Application Programming Interface. An API lets you do really powerful things when you're programming. So on our team, we get to make APIs for game developers. That means that we build code that developers can then use in their games.
We have an API that lets them make multiplayer games so people can compete in real time anywhere across the world. We also have an Achievements API that lets developers set up achievements for anyone to go chasing. We also have a Leaderboards API that they can drop in super quickly to allow friends to compete with each other or to allow players like you to see how you rank against the world.
So features like achievements or leaderboards, they've been around for years. But building them without an API is really time-consuming. Developers would need to think of a lot of things themselves, like we need somewhere to store all the leaderboard information and all the scores so that me and all my friends would get a consistent view of everything that's going on. We need some way to send messages from the phones to report things like new levels reached back to that central place where we save all the data. And every developer would need to do it again and again for every game that they write. What we provide is one place that developers can just integrate with, and it does all of this for them.
The process of taking something complex and figuring out a simple way to work with it is called abstraction. For example, when you're downloading that app to your phone, there's all kinds of complex stuff going on in the background, but you don't need to worry about it. It just works.
While the use of APIs can be thought of as simple, building these is not necessarily as easy. We need to think of all the details so that game developers don't have to. So for the Leaderboards API, the developer really only needs to tell us a couple of things. They need to tell us who the player is, what score they got, and what country they're from.
So we have to think about how are we going to store the leaderboard data? How are we going to get that data or modify that data? How are we going to send messages back and forth across the network to be able to tell our computers what to do? But the nice thing was that each of those pieces only had to worry about their own job. We reduced the complexity of the overall system by breaking it down into smaller parts. The other hard part of building APIs is making sure that they're flexible enough that you can keep doing new things with them. We have to be really careful about changing the set of things that programmers give us, what we call parameters. If we change those, it's possible that games developers build might crash. So when you find that right balance between flexibility and complexity, you have a great API. And so now developers can just add a few lines of code to their game, and they can create a fantastic leaderboard that connects them with the whole world.
When you think about it, APIs have changed the way that programs are written. They've saved programmers thousands of hours. The same goes for every other type of software out there. Banking, messaging, and watching videos. These all use APIs, and they're only possible because programmers used abstraction to make complex things simple.
So by thinking computationally, you can really take all the smaller pieces of the problem that you can understand and solve individually, and then think about how all those pieces can work together to solve a larger problem. And when you put it all together, you can do something really powerful and cool. So real-world problems can be really fuzzy. A lot of times there isn't just one single perfect answer to anything. You have to look at all the different ways you could solve the problem, try different experiments, make mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes. And then at the end of all that, you might find out you came up with a really good solution to it.